bust and the gold jacket. Speaking of gold jackets and the bust, Tom Brady keeps pushing that ceremony down the road. The 41-year-old taking part in his 20th minicamp. He turns 42 in just over 2 months. The team will receive their Super Bowl rings this week as Brady and Belichick remain the foundation for this dynasty. But they've brought in a handful of big target wide receivers to make up for the loss of Gronk. We do know one of those pass catchers will not be Austin Seferian-Jenkins after the Patriots decided to release the veteran tight end today. Their other notable name, Ben Watson, suspended for the first 4 games for banned substances. As for Gronk, no indications he'll be coming out of retirement. It's only June. Here's Mike Reese on Filling the Void.
No Gronk, no problem. That's what the Patriots hope is the case, but their plans in 2019 have hit some early speed bumps. The team is releasing veteran tight end Austin Seferian-Jenkins, and free agent signing Benjamin Watson will miss the first 4 games of the season due to NFL suspension.
Obviously, I have a great disappointment about not being able to play. I mean, you come to try to contribute to your team, and I mentioned that in the statement about that's a disappointment coming into a new place, new teammates, wanting to earn their trust, wanting to contribute early. It's always tough as an athlete, but I do feel good about what I said. I feel good about just being honest about it and just telling people what happened.
At one point in Tuesday's practice, the Patriots used a personnel grouping without a tight end. And at another point, Tom Brady spent extra time working with first-round pick N'Keal Harry, a big wide receiver who could be tapped to replace Gronkowski's red zone production. In Foxborough, Mike Reese, ESPN.
Mike, thank you so much. NFL insider Adam Schefter joining us. Let's start with the team the Patriots beat in Super Bowl 53 and Todd Gurley. He's been held out of Rams practices this offseason. When it comes to concern, where is it for the Rams and this 24-year-old running back?
Well, it became headlines this week, Kevin, that the Rams wouldn't use him in the preseason. But guess what? You know how many carries he had in the preseason last year? 0. The Rams don't sound any more concerned about Todd Gurley when I talk to them than they did last year at this time. They have him on a plan. There is a plan in place to make sure that they preserve him, to make sure he's ready for the regular season. Last year, he took some hits on that knee. He obviously struggled to get past them. There have been questions about his knee since college, but I don't sense in talking to them that they are overly concerned about Todd Gurley's condition, even though they did go out and spend a 3rd-round draft pick on Memphis running back Darrell Henderson, who they do love.
They really like it. A lot of people have. Now, meanwhile, a quarterback also that's seeing a new place is Joe Flacco. He's the latest quarterback in Denver after the Ravens traded for him. How has he impacted the Broncos offense so far this offseason?
Well, today, for example, he threw one football 80 yards downfield, and I don't think the Broncos have seen anything like that since John Elway played there. And John Elway is the man that went out and traded for Joe Flacco. And I think he's brought an element to this offense that they haven't had in recent years. He's got more talent, no disrespect, than the other quarterbacks who've been there in recent years. He's won a Super Bowl, something Peyton Manning has done. And so I think that they believe he's going to elevate this offense. He's looked good. He's been lining up behind center, which is something that is different for him. He's healthy. He's 34, but he feels like he's 23. Got to talk to Peyton Manning last week, and I think the Broncos are comfortable and confident in Joe Flacco for this upcoming season.
All right, Broncos, one of the 9 teams opening mandatory minicamp today. Now, since winning the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning 3 years ago, the Broncos have started 4 different quarterbacks. Flacco will likely be number 5. Adam, thank you so much. We've got much more coming your way on other teams opening up mandatory minicamp, including those Browns. The first impressions of Odell. Full coverage of his debut at mandatory minicamp in Cleveland today. Sage?
All right, Kev, let's go back to the NBA Finals as Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors get set for Game 3. News that Kawhi filed a lawsuit yesterday against Nike, alleging that the company is blocking him from using a logo that he says he owns. In the lawsuit, Kawhi says Nike filed a copyright application for a logo that he designed and did so unbeknownst to him and without his consent. That's a quote. Kawhi asked about that today at Raptors practice.
I mean, it happened a long time ago. It's probably you guys are just finding out, but it's not a big worry of mine. Like, I've been know about it.
How are you able to sort of process and block out distractions in the course of a game? And is that something that you worked on over the course of your career, or is that just just your personality, do you think?
I mean, I think it just comes natural just by, all NBA players, you know what I mean? It's just so much distractions from you playing in high school to college, and I'm becoming a pro. So it's probably just pretty much second nature at this point. And like I said, I know about this, way before even playoffs started. So it's nothing new to me.
Our coverage continues live here from Oakland, California. Let's bring Brian Windhorst back in for this. And Brian, Kawhi Leonard endorses now New Balance, but until 2018, it was Nike, and now he is suing Nike. What more can you tell us about this lawsuit?
There's two things that I find remarkable about this. Number one, that this means so much to him, that there's been negotiation with Nike for months, so that he would file a lawsuit during the finals, knowing that it would get public.
Right.
It tells you a little bit about him. We don't know that much about Kawhi, but when he is passionate about something, like when he wanted to leave the Spurs, he will follow through with it no matter how much pain it is. That's a good point going forward. Secondly, the New York Times reported that the Los Angeles Clippers have been trying to buy the logo from Nike. Why would the Clippers want it? So that they could give it to Kawhi as part of their free agent pitch. And I think this just shows how invested the Clippers are in their background research of Kawhi. When you watched Kawhi before he signed with New Balance, anytime you would see him not in a San Antonio Spurs gear, it would be with that logo. Mm-hmm. He loved that logo. We don't know much about him. We know how much he loved that logo. So while this is a trademark dispute, it's a window not only into who Kawhi is, it's a window into the depth of the recruiting that the Clippers, and I promise you other teams, are getting ready for in less than a month.
And oh, by the way, it's interesting because we don't hear much from Kawhi, but when we do, it is even if it's not in a soundbite, he's making a statement by doing this, and he says that it's the hand, that it's his own hand.
He drew it.
He traced himself,
he drew it,
right? He's taking this quite personally. Again, with New Balance now, but it was Nike for all those years. We'll see how that plays out. But as in typical Kawhi fashion, no big deal. Surprised you guys didn't know about it until now.
Tomorrow.
I have a feeling you are correct, Brian Windhorst. I think you're done for the day. Get out of here before we change our minds.
It's so nice. I'm just going to get a drink and sit next to you.
Save a drink for me. Brian, thank you. By the way, a former Raptor, just think a year ago, DeMar DeRozan was leading them to the Eastern Conference semis, but was traded to the Spurs in July, in part to get Kawhi Leonard. 9 years with the Raptors, 4 All-Star appearances. It's got to be tough, don't you think, for DeMar DeRozan to watch his Raptors finally get here to the finals for the first time ever without him? DeRozan talked about that today. Listen to what he said.
Honestly, I don't even think I said this. I probably said this to my own inner circle, but if it wasn't for all the years and groundwork that I did before then, none of them things would have been possible. Yes, I fought, I sacrificed, I pushed the limits to where I had to be the sacrificial lamb. You just have to sit back and understand, you are the reason so many things was even possible.
All right, Wilbon, is DeMar DeRozan right that he was the sacrificial lamb for the Raptors' success?
I don't know about sacrificial lamb. I read all of DeMar DeRozan's comments, Tony, and I understand him feeling bad. I mean, of course he would. I mean, he's the guy that was shipped out of there.
Yep.
And less than a year later, that team that he put blood, sweat, and tears into left on that court. He is still beloved there. People talk about DeMar DeRozan in Toronto all the time. You can't go a minute without hearing his name. They love him. But the Toronto Raptors are in the finals because they have Kawhi Leonard and because Masai Ujiri made that trade, and it was hard for him to make. But they had to do that, and I feel bad for DeMar DeRozan.
The whole notion of being a sacrificial lamb is that something terrible has happened to you, that you are innocent, but you are cast off in some way and sacrificed for the greater good of everybody else. He and Kyle Lowry were on a lot of playoff teams together that got swept out of the playoffs. They had opportunity, it didn't work. He was obviously rated more highly than Kyle Lowry because he went and brought Kawhi Leonard back, right? So the Spurs thought he was a better player, and this is what happens. Look, Mark Jackson was a fine coach with Golden State. He built something there. But Steve Kerr came in, took him over the top.
Yeah.
This is 5 championships, finals in a row. Steve Kerr's got to get a lot of credit. These things happen in basketball.
They do.
One thing turns it.
But, Tony, they're difficult things, and I understand DeMar DeRozan. Let's give him credit for this. He didn't say, I hate them, I hope they lose.
He loves them.
He said, no, these are my friends.
That's right.
Was there. He took the high road.
Right.
Good for DeMar DeRozan. Yeah. That's it. We're done. Back to you.
Still to come on SportsCenter. First impressions of Odell Beckham Jr.